The Reluctant Warriors. The Galactic Observation Chamber aboard the Alliance flagship Eternal Vigilance buzzed with tension as Admiral Thravix of the Salathian Confederation stared at the tactical display. His 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of severe stress among his species. The holographic projection showed another Alliance outpost falling to the Voidborn Armada, the 14th in as many days. "How much longer can we hold?" asked General Kel Mora, the reptilian representative from the Draconis cluster. Her armored scales clinked softly as she shifted her massive form. Admiral Thravix's voice was grave. "At current depletion rates, the Alliance will collapse within 60 standard cycles. The Voidborn have adapted to every strategy we've deployed." The war had raged for 7 years. 7 years of relentless conflict that had drained resources across 17 star systems and claimed billions of lives. The Alliance, a coalition of 32 spacefaring civilizations, had thrown everything they had against the Voidborn, a mysterious collective that emerged from the galactic rim with technology that seemed to defy known physics. What about the humans? The question came from Ambassador Zillith, the ethereal representative of the Luminary Conclave. His translucent form glowed with a soft blue light that dimmed with his concern. The chamber fell silent. Every species turned their attention to the small delegation seated at the far end of the table. Commander Elena Reyes sat with perfect posture, her dark hair pulled back in a regulation bun, her Earth Commonwealth uniform pristine despite the weeks aboard the alien vessel. Beside her sat Dr. Marcus Chen, Earth's leading genotechnologist, and Captain James Washington, tactical advisor to the Commonwealth Fleet. Admiral Thravix cleared his throat, or what passed for one in his species. "Humanity has provided invaluable humanitarian aid and logistics support. We are grateful for their contributions." The unspoken question hung in the air. Why hadn't humans committed military forces to the conflict? Commander Reyes met the Admiral's gaze. "The Earth Commonwealth has observed this conflict carefully. We've studied the Voidborn tactics, their technology, their adaptation patterns. We've shared our analyses with Alliance intelligence." "Analyses don't win wars, Commander," General Kel Mora growled. "Ships and weapons and soldiers win wars." Dr. Chen adjusted his glasses, an affectation since ocular corrections were unnecessary with modern medicine. "With respect, General, throwing resources at a problem without understanding it is how you've lost 14 outposts in 14 days. The chamber erupted in multiple languages, translation devices struggling to keep up with the overlapping voices. Admiral Thravix raised all 4 of his upper limbs, calling for order. "The humans have their reasons," he said firmly. "They joined the galactic community only 15 years ago. Their world was devastated by their own conflicts before they unified. Perhaps they are wise to remain cautious." Commander Reyes tapped a small device on her wrist. A new hologram appeared alongside the tactical display, a series of complex equations and models that few in the chamber could comprehend. "The Voidborn use a quantum entanglement network to coordinate their attacks," she said. "It's why they adapt so quickly to your countermeasures. They operate as a singular consciousness across multiple vessels." The revelation sent murmurs through the chamber. Dr. Chen continued where Reyes left off. "We've been developing technology to disrupt this network, but it required observation of actual combat scenarios to finalize our approach." Ambassador Zillith's form brightened slightly. "You've been preparing to enter the conflict all along." Captain Washington nodded. "Earth Commonwealth policy is to understand before engaging. We needed to be certain our intervention would be decisive, not just another failing strategy." The meeting was interrupted by an emergency alert. The tactical display shifted to show a massive Voidborn fleet approaching the Proxima Centauri colony, one of humanity's first extrasolar settlements. Commander Reyes stood immediately. "It appears the Voidborn have made our decision for us." Her voice was calm, but her eyes hardened. "Admiral Thravix, the Earth Commonwealth Fleet formally requests permission to engage the enemy." The Alliance leadership exchanged glances. For 7 years, they had wondered about humanity's true capabilities. The humans had kept their military technology closely guarded, sharing only defensive and medical innovations with their galactic neighbors. Admiral Thravix nodded slowly. "Permission granted, Commander. What forces can you deploy?" Commander Reyes smiled thinly. "The 7th Fleet is already in position, Admiral. We've been shadowing the Voidborn movements for months. Operation Silent Thunder is ready to commence." The holographic display shifted again, revealing a cluster of human vessels that had somehow remained undetected by both Alliance and Voidborn sensors. The ships were unlike anything the Alliance had fielded, sleek, minimal in design, lacking the obvious weapons arrays and defensive systems that characterized other species' warships. "Those vessels appear unarmed," observed General Kelmora skeptically. Captain Washington's expression remained neutral. "I assure you, General, they are not." Commander Reyes addressed the chamber one final time before departing. "The Alliance has fought bravely for 7 years. You've sacrificed much and learned much about our enemy. Now it's time for humanity to contribute in the way we are best suited, not with overwhelming force, but with precise application of understanding." As she turned to leave, Ambassador Zilith asked the question on everyone's mind. "How long will your operation take to show results, Commander?" Elena Reyes paused at the doorway. "If our calculations are correct, Ambassador, the war will be effectively over in less than 5 hours." The claim was met with disbelief. 7 years of conflict, trillions in resources, billions of lives, and these newcomers claimed they could end it in 5 hours. Admiral Thravix gestured to his communications officer. "Patch the human fleet's operations into the main display. I want to see this for myself." As Commander Reyes and her team departed for their shuttle, the chamber watched the tactical display with a mixture of skepticism and desperate hope. The human vessels began to move, forming a pattern that made little strategic sense to conventional military doctrine. What happened next would forever change galactic warfare. The human ships didn't charge into battle with guns blazing. There were no dramatic explosions or heroic last stands. Instead, their vessels executed a series of precisely coordinated maneuvers, releasing what appeared to be thousands of tiny objects into space around the Voidborn fleet. "What are those?" asked General Kelmora, leaning forward. Dr. Yuan Lai, the remaining human scientist, spoke quietly. "Quantum field disruptors. They're targeting the Voidborn communication network." Within minutes, the previously organized Voidborn attack patterns became erratic. Ships that had moved with perfect coordination began to drift apart, their formations breaking down. "They're being isolated from each other," Admiral Thravix realized, his voice barely above a whisper. "You've broken their hive mind." Dr. Lai nodded. "Phase 1 of Silent Thunder. Now comes Phase 2. The human vessels accelerated, moving through the confused Voidborn formations with astonishing precision. They weren't firing conventional weapons. Instead, they deployed localized gravitational distortions that twisted space itself around the enemy ships. Voidborn vessels found themselves unable to maneuver, their advanced propulsion systems working against them as human ships systematically targeted key nodes in their fleet structure. The chamber watched in stunned silence as decades-advanced Voidborn technology was rendered useless by human ingenuity. It wasn't a battle in the traditional sense. It was a systematic dismantling. 3 hours into Operation Silent Thunder, half the Voidborn fleet had either been disabled or destroyed. The remaining ships were retreating in disarray, unable to coordinate their movements or bring their superior firepower to bear. "How?" General Kelmora demanded, turning to Dr. Lai. "How is this possible?" The human scientist smiled sadly. "We learned from our own history. Humanity nearly destroyed itself multiple times before reaching the stars. We know better than most how devastating advanced technology can be when wielded without understanding." Ambassador Zilith's form pulsed with emotion. "You studied the Voidborn while providing aid to our worlds. Every medical ship, every supply vessel, every diplomatic envoy carried sensors designed to gather data on Voidborn technology, Dr. Lai confirmed. We needed to understand the enemy completely before engaging them. As the fourth hour began, reports flooded in from across Alliance space. Voidborne fleets everywhere were in retreat, their network collapsing under the systematic attack of human quantum disruptors. Admiral Thravix turned to Dr. Lai, his expression unreadable. Your Commander Reyes was correct. 5 hours to end a 7-year war. Dr. Lai's expression grew solemn. The war isn't truly over, Admiral. We've only won the first battle on our terms. But now the Alliance has hope and a new strategy. As news of humanity's intervention spread throughout Alliance space, the question on everyone's mind was no longer why humans had waited so long to join the fight. It was what other capabilities they might be hiding. The Silent Thunder Protocol. Fleet Commander Elena Reyes stood on the bridge of the ECS Athena, watching the tactical display as Silent Thunder entered its final phase. What the Alliance leadership didn't fully understand was that the operation hadn't begun today. It had started 3 years ago, when humanity first recognized the true nature of the Voidborne threat. Status report, she ordered, her voice calm despite the historical significance of the moment. Captain Washington's voice came through clearly on the comm. Phase 3 deployment at 87%, Commander. Quantum disruption has reached critical threshold across 94% of identified Voidborne communication nodes. Their fleet cohesion has dropped below 30%. Elena nodded. And our casualties? Minimal. 3 ships damaged, no losses. The Galileo took a direct hit, but their adaptive shielding held. It was better than their simulations had projected. The Voidborne, for all their technological advancement, had become dependent on their networked consciousness. Once isolated, individual ships struggled to adapt to rapidly changing battlefield conditions. Open a channel to Admiral Thravix, Elena commanded. When the alien leader's face appeared on screen, she continued, Admiral, we're entering the final stage of Silent Thunder. I recommend you move Alliance forces to these coordinates. She transmitted a series of positions that seemed randomly distributed across the conflict zone. Admiral Thravix's expression showed confusion. Those positions leave our flanks exposed, Commander. Trust me, Admiral. In approximately 20 minutes, the Voidborne will attempt a last coordinated assault using backup communication protocols. They'll target what they perceive as weaknesses in our formation. These positions will ensure minimal Alliance casualties while maximizing our counter-offensive effectiveness. There was a pause before Admiral Thravix nodded. Very well, Commander. The Alliance will follow your lead. As the communication ended, Dr. Chen approached Elena's command station. They still don't fully grasp what we've done, do they? Elena shook her head. They see the technology, the tactics. They don't see the philosophy behind it. The core of Operation Silent Thunder wasn't just advanced technology. It was humanity's unique approach to warfare, born from centuries of conflict on Earth. While other species developed weapons of increasing destructive capacity, humans had learned the hard way that understanding your enemy was more important than overpowering them. The tactical display updated, showing Alliance vessels moving into the positions Elena had specified. Some Alliance commanders were clearly reluctant, their ships moving sluggishly toward what appeared to be vulnerable formations. Voidborne backup communication protocols activating, reported Lieutenant Rodriguez from the sensor station. Exactly as predicted. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Initiate Phase 4. Across the battlefield, specialized human vessels activated powerful electromagnetic pulse generators, modified to target the specific frequency range used by the Voidborne backup systems. It was technology humans had developed centuries ago, but refined to unprecedented precision. The Voidborne ships, already struggling with the loss of their primary network, now found themselves completely isolated from each other. What should have been a coordinated final assault became a chaotic mess of individual vessels firing blindly. Alliance vessels are holding position as instructed, Captain Washington reported. Minimal casualties reported. Elena nodded. Deploy the NEXUS drones. From the human fleet, Thousands of autonomous drones swarmed toward the disorganized Voidborn ships. These weren't weapons in the traditional sense. They were advanced hacking platforms, designed to penetrate Voidborn systems and transmit their operational data back to human analysts. "We're receiving Voidborn technical specifications," Dr. Chen announced, his eyes widening at the flood of information. "Their propulsion designs, weapons systems, even their biological components, it's all coming through." This had been the true objective of Silent Thunder from the beginning. Not just to win a battle, but to understand the enemy so completely that future conflict would be unnecessary. In the Alliance observation chamber, the gathered leaders watched in astonishment as the fearsome Voidborn fleet, undefeated for 7 years, crumbled in less than 5 hours. "I don't understand," General Kelmore admitted, her reptilian features contorted in confusion. "The humans barely fired a shot. How have they accomplished this?" Dr. Lai, who had remained behind to explain the operation, gestured to the display. "Silent Thunder isn't about destruction, General. It's about disruption. Humanity learned long ago that superior firepower doesn't guarantee victory. Superior understanding does." Ambassador Zillith's form glowed brighter with excitement. "Their ships aren't primarily weapon platforms. They're information-gathering systems." "Precisely," Dr. Lai confirmed. "Each engagement has provided terabytes of data on Voidborn technology, biology, and psychology. We now understand them better than they understand themselves." Admiral Thravix leaned forward. "And what will you do with this understanding, Doctor?" Dr. Lai's expression became solemn. "That will be for the Alliance to decide collectively. Humanity doesn't seek to dominate the Voidborn, only to end the threat they pose." As the 5th hour of Operation Silent Thunder concluded, the remaining Voidborn vessels began a full retreat from Alliance space. Reports from across the galaxy confirmed the same pattern. The enemy that had seemed invincible was running. On the bridge of the Athena, Commander Reyes received the final status report from Captain Washington. "Operation Silent Thunder complete, Commander. All objectives achieved. Voidborn forces in full retreat across all theaters." Helena took a deep breath. "Casualties. Alliance casualties minimal. 7 ships lost, compared to the projected hundreds. Human casualties, 12 wounded, 2 fatalities. 2 lives lost to end a war that had claimed billions. It was a victory by any measure, but Helena felt the weight of those losses nonetheless. "Open a channel to the Eternal Vigilance," she ordered. When Admiral Thravix appeared on screen, his expression was one of profound respect mixed with wariness. "Commander Reyes," he acknowledged, "the Alliance owes humanity a debt we can never repay. You've accomplished in hours what we couldn't in years." Helena nodded. "The Voidborn threat has been neutralized, Admiral, but there's much work to be done. We've gathered extensive data on their civilization, technology, and biology. I'm transmitting it to Alliance intelligence now." Admiral Thravix's eyes widened. "You're sharing all your intelligence?" "Of course," Helena replied. "Humanity didn't join this war to claim superiority, Admiral. We joined to restore peace to the galaxy we all share." There was a moment of silence before Admiral Thravix spoke again, his voice carrying the weight of revelation. "I believe we've misunderstood humanity, Commander. We saw your reluctance to engage as weakness or disinterest. Now I see it was wisdom." Helena smiled. "A human philosopher once said, 'If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles.' We needed to understand the Voidborn before we could defeat them." "And now?" asked Admiral Thravix. "Now we help rebuild," Helena replied simply, "and perhaps learn to understand each other as well as we've come to understand our common enemy." As the communication ended, Helena looked out at the stars visible through the bridge viewport. Humanity had revealed only a fraction of its capabilities today, enough to end the war, but not enough to frighten their allies. The true test would come in the peace that followed. The Alliance would look at humanity differently now, with respect, but also with caution. The species that could end a 7-year war in 5 hours would never again be underestimated. Dr. Chen joined her at the viewport. Do you think they understand yet? Elena shook her head. Not fully. They see our technology, our tactics. They don't yet see that our greatest strength isn't in our weapons. It's in our diversity, Chen finished. In our capacity to understand, adapt, and overcome. Humanity had nearly destroyed itself multiple times throughout its bloody history, but from those near extinctions had emerged a species unlike any other in the galaxy, one that understood the true nature of conflict and the higher purpose of peace. As the Athena set course for Earth, Commander Reyes sent one final message to the human fleet. Silent thunder is complete. The true work begins now. The galaxy would never be the same. The war had dragged on for years. Then humans joined, and it ended in hours. But the story of humanity's role in the cosmos was just beginning. What had taken 5 hours to win would take generations to understand.